Hey guys, and welcome to Tantrum House Studio 3. I'm Will Meadows.
And I'm Sara Meadows, and today we're looking at Spring Rally from Mandoo Games.
In this trick-taking card game, players will be using their winnings to wind up their spring car in hopes of being the first to race around and finish their course.
From designer H.J. Kook, Spring Rally is a 3 to 5 player game that plays in about 20 minutes. It's fun for all ages, so let's give it a spin.
To set up the game, decide which side of the board you want to play with, and then put everyone's cars on the starting line.
Give everyone a wind-up spring with the yellow side up, and give the best driver in the group the starting token. And then for the first round, deal everyone a hand of 5 cards.
Play begins with the first player laying a card. Other players must match the color if possible, and the player with the highest card wins the trick.
That player then gets to move his car, and he must move it based on the lowest card that was played for the round.
Whomever won the trick gets to lead the next round. If players don't have a matching color, then they can play any card they wish from their hand. If you play off color, your card is considered higher. And whoever plays the last unique color or the highest off color wins.
After each card is played, the winner moves his car along the track, but the losers get to crank up their winder doohickey.
Anytime you win a trick, you can decide to release your winder, or after all of the cards have been played for the round, everyone gets to release their winder and race along the board.
If a player crosses the finish line, finishing his first lap, he turns over his winder to keep note that he's on his second lap.
The second and third rounds of the game are played in the same way, but with 7 cards being dealt for the second round and 9 for the final hand.
As soon as the player crosses the finish line for the second time, he wins the race. Spring Rally is a really high energy, really brightly colored trick-taking game, and it has this other element that you don't really see with trick-taking games very often, and that is that you are racing around this track. Really great combination of elements and mechanics, really fun to be able to move your car along the board as you win tricks, and even more fun to be able to cause other people to win the trick and only get to move to lousy spaces.
This is a very good way to introduce that trick-taking mechanic to kids. Most trick-taking games are somewhat difficult to learn how to play your cards in a way that affects you the best. This one has that great catch the leader mechanic with that spring winding, so that even if you lose a lot of tricks or don't play your cards well, you may be able to catch up in the game.
Yeah, that 15 or 16 can be really powerful if you lose a bunch of hands in order to make board movement. We didn't really cover the board movement really well in that playthrough. Some of the things that are going on which are interesting about the other side of the board is that you've got those blue track portions and the red track portions. The way that works is if your car ends in any portion on the blue track, it will slide down to the end, gaining you extra spaces. The opposite is true for the red. If your player ends up his movement anywhere in that red area, he has to slowly slide back down to the start portion and be able to get all the way through that red on a turn in order to be able to make progress on the board.
Yeah, we found that very strategic and it's placed right before the finish line on the board, so we found it very strategic, especially with the adults playing who are pretty cutthroat about it. Forcing a player who you know is going to win the trick to take a low card so that they may only be able to move 2, and that's not enough to push them through the red, so they go back to where they were. We had some great fun with forcing players to only be able to move so many, and then we also didn't mention that when at the end of each round, everyone's springs are then released. So that starts with the player who is in last place. They move forward, and so they are able to jump over all of the other players as they move through their spring movements.
And then the first player, who's actually in the lead, gets to move last, which is kind of nice because it helps them maintain their lead. No 2 cars can share a space on the track, so you have to hop over them, and usually that guy gets to kind of maintain and keep up with his lead at the beginning of the game. We have enjoyed it. The spring thing it creates some really weird and extreme cases sometimes where we've played some games where everybody's pretty tight and within like one turn they could win the game. Other times people have been lapped entirely behind, and so just a lot of there's a lot of strategy into the way you play the cards, but there is a lot of variance and just random things that will happen throughout the game as you're moving and sliding and bumping each other. We really enjoyed it. I would love to keep talking about it, honestly, because there is even more. The artwork is really fun, and there's a lot of other cool things going on. But if it sounds like something you would enjoy, check out Spring Rally from Mandoo Games. And then thank you so much for subscribing to our channel and following our videos. We love putting these together for you guys, and we'll have a new one coming soon.
It's fun for all ages, so let's take it a spin. No. Let's give it a spin.
Let's take it a spin.
Oh boy.